No, you don't want to see? Look at this. Look at this. It's you, Bella baby. Oh. Mirror. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will be testing out two makeup products by Milani. They are the Milani Foundation and Concealer, and the Milani Conceal and Perfect Long Wear Concealer. Okay, before we get started here, a little background on both of these products. For the Conceal and Perfect Foundation and Concealer, I went with the shade Ivory. If I remember correctly, this was either the lightest shade or the second to lightest shade. That is what I usually go with just because my skin tone is so fair. And I will note that when I picked it up, it kind of looked to be more on the warm tone side than what I normally go for. So I tried to get something that wasn't too warm. Some of the claims to this foundation on the back of the bottle is it's medium to full coverage, lightweight, oil-free formula, which for me right now is perfect. Normally I have combination skin, but one, it is summertime, so my skin is going to naturally be more oily, but two, because of hormones, my skin is also even more oily than normal. I'm not somebody who usually gets a lot of acne, even in the summertime. Usually if I get acne, it's only like one pimple around my period. Aside from that, I'm not somebody who normally has a lot of acne, so right now I had like one right on the side of my nose here earlier this week, and you can't see it right now, but right in there I have two. So this is more acne than I normally deal with, so obviously I'm looking for a product that isn't going to add additional oil or create additional oils on my skin. It's supposed to be long wear and water resistant, so I'm definitely interested in seeing if that claim holds up. As you guys know, I'm somebody whereby it could stay in place everywhere except on my nose. I blow my nose so much that it'll just come off on my nose by the end of the night, by the time 6 to 8 hours have passed, much less 12 hours. As you can see already, I blew my nose twice and you're starting to get the rings around my nose, but the rest of it on the tip here hasn't worn off too bad, so that is definitely something I am going to be testing and seeing how that turns out. The concealer doesn't have much for claims to go with it. The shade I went with was light nude, which again I'm pretty sure was the lightest shade or the second to lightest shade. The concealer for some reason appeared to have more of a cool tone range than the foundation. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if like a lot of brands still think that super like light porcelain skin people all have warm tones to their skin. Not all of us do. Foundations have definitely gotten better throughout the years. I know about 5 years ago, you really didn't have a great selection for darker skin tones, and even some people with lighter skin tones like mine, it was really hard to find a shade that wasn't too dark, wasn't too warm. I know some brands like Revolution, they now have really light skin tone shades, which I think is awesome, particularly because their shade range at the lighter end of the spectrum isn't specifically super warm. And again, I'm somebody that prefers neutral to cool tone foundations just because I already have a lot of redness to my skin and rosacea, so I feel like when I add in a yellow tone, one, it makes me look like I have a really bad fake tan on, but two, it doesn't counteract that warm tone so much for some reason. It doesn't conceal as well, so I prefer personally to have a foundation that has more of a neutral to cool tone opposed to a neutral to warm tone, if that makes sense. To the concealers, I feel like the concealers have more of a cool tone range than their foundation currently does, but you know, usually foundations put out a base range and then go on to further extend that range if it is a product that is a good seller. So maybe we will be seeing additional shades here in the future all across the spectrum. If you guys are interested in seeing a top or flop product review today on these products, just keep on watching and we're gonna jump right into it. Okay, I'm going to start with 2 pumps because usually that is enough to do it for me personally, but we will see. Hopefully the shade matches. As far as the shade thus far, it's kind of warm for me. I mean, it's not bad, I've definitely had foundations that are really orange, so as long as it doesn't oxidize, it'll be alright. But I personally think I'm more of a cool tone person, just because I try and counteract some of that redness. As you guys can see, my Ramona acne at the moment sucks. I did use a face mask last night, so hopefully that made a little bit of a difference too. I know some people don't really put foundation on their forehead too much, but I feel like my skin tone ends up looking all weird if you don't. Uneven. Okay, I will say from our first application, it looks to be pretty natural looking on the skin, and I like that. However, it's supposed to be medium to full coverage, and I feel like with one layer it's about medium coverage, so we'll try and build it up a little bit more and see if that takes it to full coverage. Okay, I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like my nose just doesn't want to build coverage. Mind you, I am somebody who has a hard time keeping products on their nose area anyway, but that area just doesn't want to seem to build too much. Okay, I will say that after having put 2 layers on here, do I feel like it's full coverage? Not completely, because if you look right here, you can see those popping out from underneath and a little bit in my chin area. However, it's definitely medium coverage. I feel like it wears very naturally on the skin though, so maybe that's just the difference in perspective here, whereby it doesn't seem like it's full coverage to the same extent just because of how it wears. I feel like this is going to be too late. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. We'll say though, it smells like paint. I don't know if it's the next concealer that smells like this, but I've definitely had another concealer that smells like this before. The shade on the concealer doesn't look bad. Right now I'm going to work on blending that in. I must say this concealer seems to dry down rather quickly, so just keep that in mind. Maybe just apply to one eye at a time and then blend it out. Okay, that's one layer. I'm going to apply ever so slightly more, just for like right by here. So this concealer kind of feels really weird in the sense of it feels very sticky when I try and blend it out. Like it doesn't feel like wet, like it necessarily is going to move around a lot, but it just feels sticky and tacky. And I don't think I've really ever had that from a concealer before, but I mean, if it stays in place, I'm okay with it. I'm going to take just a little bit, as usual, put it around my nose. I swear to God, this smells like paint or nail polish or something. Mind you, to consider that the foundation itself was supposed to be a concealing foundation, So with that being said, I hope it holds a little better around my nose area. If it does, it's going to probably be my new favorite foundation. Okay, this is where we are at right now with these foundation and concealer products. I'm going to do the rest of my makeup and then check back in with you guys once I get that done, so then you can see what it looks like finished, and then check in with you throughout the day and at the end for my final thoughts. See you here in a bit. Okay guys, so here is what the finished makeup look currently looks like. I don't think that it is too bad. It didn't really appear to oxidize or anything like that. I will say that I used the Physicians Formula Natural Defense Finishing Powder, and I personally feel like that helped even out my complexion a little. After I put my bronzer on, I looked a little more orange, a little more warm toned than normal, and I don't feel like I looked like that as much now. So here is where we are currently at. It is 2 o'clock right now, so I will be touching back in with you guys between 6 and 8 o'clock, and then again at the end before I give you guys my final thoughts. So see you guys here in a bit. Bye. Hey guys, here we are doing a quick check-in for you here in my car. I mean, in comparison to how my nose normally is, it's not holding up too terribly. That is like the first thing I look for on me personally. I know a lot of people that's not like their thing, but that is something I look for first of all for myself, is to make sure my nose isn't wearing off. But even though I put setting powder on, I am having creasing on my under eye area from the concealer, I'm assuming, because I didn't really get that much up around my eyes or anything like that. I ate dinner and it didn't wear off too terribly around my chin. It's not sinking into smile lines or any other fine lines too terribly. So that in and of itself is a good thing right there. We will be checking back in with you guys here in a couple hours to see a final result and where we're at before I give you guys my final thoughts. So see you here in a bit. Bye. It's not terrible. I mean, it is pretty close to what I normally experience, just a little bit better as far as the wear around the nose area. Coverage held up pretty well. It's some separation around the chin. And as I mentioned before, I had some creasing under my eyes. But aside from that, it's not too bad. It held up pretty well. So I'm going to hook you guys up to my tripod and see you guys here in a few minutes. Okay guys, so to go over some claims of the foundation here real quick. It claimed to be medium to full coverage. I felt like that held up pretty well, that it was more so medium coverage for me. However, it had a very natural look to the skin, so I feel like that might have had something to do with why I didn't feel like it was such full coverage. As I noted earlier, you could see my moles through there and a little bit of my acne scarring, so that's the only real reasons why I didn't deem this one to be full coverage. Lightweight oil-free formula. I feel like it held up to that pretty well, that I definitely didn't get super oily on my face, particularly in my T-zone, my nose area there. Long wearing, water resistant. Now, as far as water resistant, we didn't really get to test that today because I didn't go into work. However, I felt like it held up to the claim of long wearing pretty well. I have tried a couple of foundations where they claim to be 12 hours, and on the nose area here, it is definitely worse than what this is right here. So being that this held up so well, and where it did come off, it's more blended, so that it's not as obvious where the wear is. I feel like it held up for that pretty well. Me personally, that is a problem area for me, so I can't have too high of expectations knowing that I rub off in that area very easily. For the concealer, the only claim on this appears to be that it was long wearing. I thought the shades were pretty good. I liked that the Milani one did not oxidize a lot. So, final thoughts. Do I feel like either of these products were on top or were they flops? Personally, I rate them both on top. Again, this one held up pretty well for the claims here, and obviously it held up decently around my nose, and that is one big thing I look for. And I agree that this was a long-wearing concealer, and it was definitely a full coverage concealer. So even though that wasn't a claim on the packaging, I definitely will note that this was full coverage. If you like this product review, don't forget to leave me a like, and if you haven't already, hit subscribe. I hope you guys like this video. Until next time, guys, bye!